and welcome back to the Domain Gaming, where after a week of absence, it's good to be back, and we are about to jump back into Blades in the Dark, where last time around we left the investigative crew in the Deathlands, where they had come across an old abandoned town, partially collapsed into a fissure in the earth. And what remained had fallen into disrepair, and a few buildings draw in the future.
I think you're a little too far from the mic. I could only hear bits and pieces of that, or was that just me?
Oh, I will move in closer. Hopefully that's better. Apologies there. So, upon finding their way into the town, they uncovered several slightly concerning pieces of artwork that had been drawn, one of which depicted their bodies hanging from the remains of a bell tower. Now, unfortunately, we are a player down for the moment. Hopefully, Robyn will be able to join us in time, but if they can't, we're going to continue. So with that, let's jump straight back in. And as Battered Crow finishes examining the images in question, let's jump over to Caroline and Baz. Gaz.
Or
what
Basil.
are you? Or Basil, yeah. What are the two of you currently doing?
Gaz would probably just be poking around, just looking to see if there's any clutter, just looking underneath like papers if there are any. Not really doing anything, just kind of idly, like not just standing there, but.
No, of course. As you look through the remnants, a lot of this is old materials. I'm going to say make me a check. Probably a study or some.
Do a survey.
Other than the uncomfortable silence.
Observant as always.
Other than the uncomfortable silence around you, there is very little in terms of anything of particular note. Most of the items that have seemingly been just left as they were. However, this is much too good a condition to be anything from pre-cataclysm. Seems like this town has had residents in a much more recent past. Caroline, is there anything you would like to do?
Karen's probably taking a walk around the place, see if there are signs of people being there, like you said, recently, or even maybe a few hours before.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you're actually in the town itself rather than the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a check.
It's gonna be survey as well. Could be worse.
You find a small one time looks to be a service shed of sorts. Several of the tools still remain inside, but broken, rusted, lying on the floor in various pieces. And on the counter you find a small leather-bound journal. The opening was from, as you can work it out, only a few days after the demon in question was broken out of wherever it came from originally and entered the material world. The details are quite clear. The wording is evidently from somebody educated, explaining that they were that they came out here in a small group of them to understand something of greater purpose. The actual what this was left deliberately vague by whoever was looking into such an expedition. But as the days go on and get closer and closer to the present day, leaving it to about a week previously, the words become more and more unhinged. The sentences, short structures, it becomes more of a stream of consciousness, of sentences I can see now. Then the darkness comes, I can taste it. Tastes like honey. It comes for all of us. The world will be reborn, the old torn down, and a new one built in its place. The dream becomes the nightmare becomes the world. The world becomes ours.
Well, that's joyful. Karen's gonna bring it to Ro and the others.
As you pick it up as well, the words have evidently have gone from being this very kind of carefully worded, beautifully constructed cursive writing, and have become this kind of scratching, as if the pen has been held in a fist and they've just scrawled it in. So a lot of these words, these sentences, just cover entire page spreads, and it's turning it over, and there's each of these just conscious ramblings. Let's jump back to Battered, placing the images back down.
Is this after Caroline's come to me with the chicken scratch, as it were? Cursive chicken scratch?
It would be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as soon as Caroline hands Crow that, he's going to look it over and also direct her attention to the lovely pictures that he found as well. Let's try not to get caught in any nooses, shall we? As he hands the paper over to her.
That's awful. You found it's on paper or on the wall?
It's on. I believe it's on paper, but it's old newspaper and things like that. It's not proper art. It's not any kind of recognized artistic medium. Seemingly drawn in charcoal.
Well, the good news is that she was there.
Well, I do think, and it's at this point Crow's going to essentially scan his surroundings and look for that exact building. And once he sees
that was
it,
the one on the way in. It's quite obvious. It's an old bell tower standing above the height of most of the buildings around you. Doubly so since half the roofs have caved in. And the bell tower itself has collapsed on one side, so it's just the arch from which the bell still somehow clings.
Crow begins to make his move towards it, like feeling like it's the strongest lead currently. Maybe she hangs out in there.
As you arrive at the very bottom of it, it's a simple building, likely an old townhouse or something like that, possibly a warning bell, possibly something similar to a smaller scale of bell with a crematorium and a death bell. The reasons for it remain unclear. There's just a small wooden door, which itself is set quite low, and a simple push opens it up. Inside, the walls, the floor, even parts of the ceiling have been covered in cryptic artwork.
Cryptic
any
how?
of-
The way only an oracle can.
Does any of it seems to make some sense, or at least be visible, readable, if you can call it that way?
Yeah, you could do a study check on that
Okay.
if anyone wants to help. You can always assist. Sorry to
I
give
would
you the
like to
roll, but that's
assist.
yeah. So you take 1 stress, and it's a bonus die. But
You know,
you can only assist. Only one person can assist, or you can do a group action.
I think group action would be the best idea for me. You know, for a group of people that were gathered together to investigate occult and plague, we're not very good at investigating, are we?
Hey, speak for yourself. I have 2 inanimals.
Yeah. I literally built her that way.
What's your study at, Apatura?
2 dots. So if you
Oh, okay.
want,
It's good.
if that's.
I just saw your
if
survey.
I
I'm
can-
like, ooh.
Service 0, but study is kind of good. So I can do it on my own.
Yeah. Who's? Oh.
Okay.
You.
Okay.
I assisted you. I don't know if that's another dice.
It is another die. Yeah. So
I can roll another
just-
one if you still want to assist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
see if you get 6.
That's 2 5s.
No, it's another 5. 4 man's scrap.
Nice.
So, as you work your way around the room, you realise that it's non-linear, but it actually you can put it together to make sense. It actually begins to fit with what's been written in that journal. There is one which, looking down, and there's a flight of stairs, a spiral staircase that goes upwards, and you go up a few steps and you look down to realise that the one on the floor is actually this enormous depiction of its own image of a ritual of some description, surrounded by a large circle, which seems to have been the black salt markings used when conducting this. And within there is the image of several figures who are making their way further and further inwards towards the center of the circle. and from within this depiction of something which you can't quite work out, but as you look at it, you realize that it actually, looking at whatever is being illustrated here, has the physical capabilities of making you feel dizzy and nauseous. That's going to be a level 1 harm unless you would like to resist.
Yeah. I can take it. Going to resist.
Would that be
Okay, so it's
insight
an
or
insight
resolve?
resistance. It's insight.
Because I don't know if it'd be mental strain or understanding.
It's more the understanding. Yeah, it's more the understanding. It's that kind of Lovecraftian type things that man was not meant to see. What you managed to take away from this? So you take how much? Oh, nice. No stress.
0.
Yeah, very nice. As you look at it, you realise the nature of everything becomes more and more apparent. This is a mass possession of what you can only assume to be horrors, taking human hosts.
Are these horrors
However-
rat themed or various?
There are aspects of it. It's, like I say, looking at it makes you feel slightly uneasy. Looking in on any details makes for an unpleasant experience.
Right.
And of course, knowing the nature of these, whether this has happened or is yet to happen, is unknown.
Not a comforting thought, is it?
Anyone else? Is there?
I would like to look around the areas to see if my suspicions are correct, and maybe that she is hiding in this particular building, at least was recently.
There is the spiral staircase that leads up. There is also a small side building attached through another door. You saw that on the way in. A huge section of it has kind of given way. One of the bar walls has collapsed, and the roof itself has bowed in. But at least 3 of the walls still standing could offer some kind of shelter. And of course, there is a whiz up.
I feel like maybe checking out the side building room is probably the first go-to, rather than going up to the bell tower, where we could easily be pushed off with a rope around our neck. So let's start at the bottom floor and then work our way up, so to speak.
Opening up the door, you realise that the door itself isn't even attached, it's just been propped in place. So it's more a case of lifting and moving rather than opening in the traditional sense. And within is a clutter of possessions. This is not so much hoarding as deranged. The smell hits you first as the sound and the air fills with the buzzing of flies, as you realise that in one corner there is a pile of parts, not from humans necessarily, but certainly from horses, goats, a few animals that scratch their survival out in the Deathlands.
Thankfully, well, so just to confirm, the smell is actually permeating the breathing mask that we're all wearing.
Yeah, there's so it's if you were to take that off, it would be like a kind of instant gagging.
Crow does take a step back and goes, "Lovely living quarters, it seems like." Is there any... Obviously kind of keeping a distance, is there anything else in this room that seems noteworthy outside of goat parts?
Like I say, it's sort of a very strange collection, almost hoarded in. Old soiled mattress in the corner, no kind of bedspread or sheets. There's piles of old books, many of which have pages ripped out that have been strewn over boxes, some intact, some broken, wooden packing boxes. Shards of wood lining the floors. It's a pathway literally cuts through the middle of this room, where the rain also kind of drizzles into the center and pools in the middle of the floor, where through that collapsed roof.
Well, it feels like Crow's suspicions are confirmed by this. This is at least where she lays her head, possibly. And without really any other locations, he's gonna kind of turn on his heel because he doesn't see her in that room. He's gonna begin up the stairs.
I do think Gaz would have gone up there while you were...
You hear the footsteps above you. Gaz, what would you like to look for?
I think Gaz might be a little creeped out by the original image of the group hanging. So I think they're gonna go up and look and see where that would have been. Not the smartest idea, but just a morbid curiosity, that the kind of call of the void type of thing spurring him onwards.
As you arrive at the very top, you feel like the weight of this that on this spiral staircase that goes right up, kind of circling around on itself. The further up you feel, the more unsteady it becomes, and even as you reach the top, you can feel the foundations of it swaying slightly with your steps. Across at the top, you find yourself once again breaking out back into the open air town below you. And the bell tower itself, the large brass bell, sits. The clapper has gone, and from the wooden beam that supports the bell itself hangs a single noose. This one knotted at the end with a scrap of what looks to be newspaper in. Held in within the knot.
Adorable. Gaz goes to reach out, pull out the newspaper. It's just in there, right? You can just tug it out.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you had to
as you
untie
take
it or
it,
not.
No. You sort of have to lean. You have to lean out over the precipice.
Grabbing onto this railing that's not at all stable. Like, oh god.
Yeah. You sort of lean out. You can see Battered Crow below you. Kind of, you takes the handrail as the whole structure like rocks a little bit, and as you get the newspaper, you take it back, opening it up, and it says within it, it's knowing the inevitable changes the inevitable.
I meet up with the others, show them that, and I'm like, and Gaz just goes, is it just me, or is that weirdly, like, wholesome? Like, go get 'em, champ. Figure it out. Doesn't seem as...
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of motivational, honestly.
Yeah, just find what's going on and
Then something else is gonna go on.
yeah, just take on your own destiny.
Yeah. Well, but honestly, why leave this in a noose?
Flavor.
Flavor? Yeah.
I was thinking maybe this whole hanging thing is just a threat, you know? If I were a seer and would predict the future, I would totally do that to mess with people's head.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, of all the places, it barely held my weight up there. No way is it gonna hold all 4 of our bodies. Very unlikely.
We did come out of this with one bit of information, though. She spends time here. And a lot of it. Now, the problem is how do we track somebody that supposedly can track us without even trying?
Well, I told you earlier, the ghost field could help with that, but are we sure she's still around? It's, I think, most present questions. Maybe she had abandoned the nest.
Oh. Question for the...
Go for it.
So, Crow is privy to a specific ritual that is in his possession. How exactly does that affect the ghost field?
Which ritual?
Ritual of Mirror and Bone. Spirits in the affected area become heavy with electroplasmatic essence, causing them to interact strongly with the physical world rather than weakly.
Okay, so yeah, like it suggests, it gives them more present body, essentially.
So it doesn't necessarily do something with the ghost field, then?
It's think of it like electricity through water. It affects the organisms in that water, but it doesn't affect the water through itself. It just travels through it incredibly well.
Okay. All right, then scratch what I was thinking.
Okay.
Well, we need something to either force her hand and draw her out, or track her ourselves to make sure she is in this region. Far be it for me to proverbially jinx it here. This area does seem relatively calm for the Deathlands.
Yeah. At least it has been so far. Do you want to set up shop here?
My thought is if it's been this calm for this long, I would say this is probably as good of a place as ever to set up camp, so if she isn't here, she's not far. But is that because of a certain deal she had? Crow kind of raises his arms. You know, at this point, he's speculating upon speculation upon speculation. It's becoming pointless for him to even continue talking.
If you want, I can try to ask around if I can find anybody worth talking to. Been a while I've been here, so I don't know if there's any spirit left or if they would even accept to talk to me, but I used to have some friend.
That is probably one of the riskiest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Aye.
This
They were
is
nice to
Blades.
me.
It's risk and reward.
All right. I look over at Basil, and I'm just kind of like, I give him that look of like, be ready. This may not go well.
He grabs his battle axe off his back.
Since there's all of these paintings of horrors in the tower, I was thinking of, getting a little bit farther from here, just to be sure to not attract something too much, too dangerous.
Go for it. As you walk back out into the town square, that old fountain, the buildings of one-time repute, now fallen into disrepair. Maybe that check.
Okay, let's go for disaster. I'm going to push myself on this. Come on.
There's
I mean,
a 4.
You worse.
A coldness descends on the area, felt by both Gaz and Battered Crow. The air becomes thick with a almost a fog that sets you ill at ease, and from that fog, it seems like Caroline. A figure walks. A woman, hair hanging over her face, but drifting as if back and forth, as if underwater. However, it looks as if the back of her head is caved outwards, as if exploded, and blood seems to, again, as if in water, kind of mists in the air behind her as she shambles, disappearing once again into the fog and re-emerging as she lingers in that place between the ghost field and the material world.
Caroline is going to do Caroline and say, "Oh, sorry to disturb you. If you have a minute, can you answer just one question, and I will leave you alone. If you want, of course. No pressure."
She turns to look at you. You realise there is, and as you see, kind of catch the side of her head, you realise ears are bleeding. Sign of head trauma, serious head trauma. I mean, the fact that the back of her head is exploded. She looks at you. What would you like to ask?
Well, I just want to ask you if you have a young girl around here, a live one, of course. She used to live in the bell tower and painting a lot of pictures, probably every day. And is she still here, or had she left recently?
as she speaks, there's that. We came with her. As she disperses and then reappears just to the side of you. She had a plan. Refused.
Did he do that to you?
Sorry, ask again.
Karen is asking her if the Seer is responsible for the head injury.
Yes. And she's gone. As the cold fog is once again slowly replaced by the ever-present billowing sands and ash of the Deathlands. Temperature rises up a few degrees. And the silence returns.
That didn't answer my question. That just left me with new ones.
We do know
But
that
okay.
she was part of the expedition that was out here now.
Yeah, and now I have one more person to help. Okay. Karen's going to return to the others and share the no news.
While not directly affected by the fog yourselves, you certainly would have felt the temperature drop in that sense of unease, but that has since gone as Caroline returns, opening the door once again.
So we might want to be careful, well, more than we are already. She did blown up someone's head because they didn't want to help her.
Oh.
So maybe not an helpless little girl anymore. Did I give you the journal, bro?
She certainly shared it. I don't know if you gave it to Crow.
And I'm just going to say, I think the person who wrote that was actually with her the whole time. It's a fair possibility. She wanted them to do something, and I'm kind of afraid that's the scene we saw painted on the tower.
All right, GM, can I use Fathom here?
On what?
So, with that bit of speculation that Caroline's giving, specifically Fathom is just knowing things without even being able to explain how I know them.
Oh, okay. So, what are you... Sorry, badly phrased. What is the question that you are asking in terms of your Fathom?
Okay, the question would be... Oh, it's very hard to put into words because I'm not exactly... I have an idea of what I'm looking for, but it's hard to put into words.
Bullet points.
How close is Caroline to being either absolutely correct or like onto something? Basically giving us something to move on.
Okay, all right then, make me that check.
Fathom's a pretty decent roll for me. Not gonna push myself. What's the...
Say with what you've got with the journal and what you've heard from the ghost, let's say a risky greater effects.
Okay. A crit
very
on
nice.
the great effect.
Amazing. As you look through parts of the journal, you hit one of the back pages as the writings become more and more incoherent, and there is a page where you realise it's across several pages, and says, she has a hold. We wear the clothes, we wear the pieces, they have a hold. And as you go back into the doorway of that room, you look around and you see a couple of sorry, I'm just giving one moment. Necklaces, rings. On closer inspection, though, they all seem to be made of human bone and scratched with arcane markings.
Does someone have to put those on?
There's something about them as well. It's as you look away from them, you're very aware of their presence.
Something to do with these. Crow's actually going to pick one up and... he's not going to open it, but he is going to kind of, because you said they're in jars, kind of move the jar carefully between his fingers so he's spinning it as he's examining it.
Yeah, what you have looks to be like a jar of buttons, simple coat buttons. Obviously, they kind of skitter against the edge. And they behave much like anything would. It's more that the way they make you feel is inherently wrong.
I don't like this, but let's gather all of these, get these out of here. We're going to need them. But I can't say how yet.
And as you gather them up,
you have just finished listening to this week's episode of Blades in the Dark, What Happens in the Dusk, part of the Domain Gaming, written and told by Livespark. A special thanks to you, the listener, and if you wish to continue supporting us, subscribe, like, and share. As always, comments are welcomed. Until the next chapter.
You've heard the silent song.
We all have the legend, curses.
Some foolishness about a world as it was meant to be.
A city of ghosts.
An illusion that you can begin again.
How much would you give for silence?